Alright, everybody. I have remembered to remove restream chat from the screen this time. That's how you know this is going to be a good one. We're going to talk today about the Splatanas. This is a new weapon class in the game, and so I've taken my time on getting around to this one, even though it's been in somewhat high demand, because I needed to learn the weapon myself. I haven't had anywhere near as much experience with this as I have with the other classes. I haven't seen them used as much in competitive play or anything like that. So a lot of this is new, and to be fair, some of this will probably end up getting changed as time goes on. But I thought I'd take a crack at it now. I've been watching a good amount of Pro-Chara content and figuring out especially the Stamper, but also been thinking a lot about the Wiper and been using it a bit. So I want to talk about things that I have figured out about it. One of the things that initially surprised me a lot about this weapon was that it plays a lot more like a Slayer than I was expecting it was going to. When I looked at this weapon the first time, I thought I saw Rapid Blaster. I thought I saw something like a Kensa Rapid Blaster from Splatoon 2, where it's using its sub to combo with it and dealing damage that forces the opponents to back up. But this weapon is actually a lot more about getting picks. This right here, it's not exactly what I would run because I'm not building anything specifically for the Stamper. But this is actually fairly close. What Pro-Chara does is run 2.2, so 2 mains, 2 subs of quick respawn. So he's playing this really, really aggressively and just going for aggressive plays. And an alternative build is closer to what I'm emulating here. I'm going a little bit more for the swim speed and kind of layering in a little bit of quick respawn. He swaps it out for LDE, but and I think there are a lot of other players that are running LDE. Yeah, a lot of them are. There are also some comebacks in there. So this is somewhat close to what I would want to run here. So let's talk about the Stamper itself. You have a few different firing modes and different ways to layer them. So the way that I'm going to talk about this is how you want to engage someone based on what range you're at from them. So at close range, you're going for melee hits, because that's a one-shot, and you have a little bit of a dash that can let you close the distance, so that you're basically the same kind of range for a one-shot as a roller. It's about the same there. The dash makes it a little slower, but that's there to compensate for the fact that the hit itself is literally melee range. You need to hit them with the Splatana if you're going to be able to one-shot. So the dash gets you there more reliably than just trying to position yourself there yourself. So it's a pretty useful tool. So that's what you're going for if you get anywhere near them. An alternative option that you have is going for the double tap light hit. This can be faster if you're forced to react quickly, because, for example, if you have to charge this and then hit, instead of maybe hitting once and then hitting again, that keeps you a little bit less mobile. You have to stand in front of them for a little longer. Most of the time you're just going to go for this, if you don't accidentally dash past them. So like this right here is going to miss. You really do actually have to aim this thing. But maybe if you need to like dodge around them or something, that can work. Note that this only works because of the melee hitbox. Normally this is a 3-shot, but any attack that you do with the Splatana also has a melee hitbox. So that includes the light attacks, and you get extra damage, an extra 20, if you're able to hit that. So sometimes, for example, if you miss with the light attack, but hit with the melee, you get your 20 here. So that's worth noting that that's a part of the damage of this weapon. So those are all the kind of close range ideas. If you're any further away, you are very likely to be using the Charge Slash. The Charge Slash has really kind of ludicrous range for a weapon that has, like, a melee hitbox. Like, that is really, really long. It's comparable, I believe, actually longer range than a Bamboozler or a Squiffer. So this is getting into, like, the mid-range chargers kind of territory. One huge downside of it, though, especially at that kind of a long range, is the projectile travel time. Whereas a Bamboo is going to release ZR and hit this player instantly, this is dodgeable, honestly. This is something you could see coming at you and move out of the way if you had the ink to do it. So you may not want to necessarily be using this at absolute max range just because of that. A burst bomb might get there a little bit more reliably. Maybe if they move, it still hits some splash damage. It's something to consider. But even just making someone move can be worthwhile, so I'd still consider it. Now, once you hit one of these, you have a whole bunch of different options for comboing, and that's one of the reasons why you like this, because this does 70, and that's a lot of damage. So, things that combo with this to get a splat. A single light hit. So the light hits do have less range than the charge slashes do. So you want to make sure that you're actually in range to use those if you're going to go for that combo. But that is a really quick one that's really nice and simple to aim. And this is a really big hitbox. Like, look at how big that line of ink is, how wide that is. I can be pretty far off and still hit someone with that. So that's a pretty reliable way to follow up on it if you're in range. And then another option is Burst Bomb. Even an indirect can combo with that. It needs to be a 35 indirect and not the 25 that I just got. Obviously, a direct is going to do it, but let's see if we can land this. There we go. So if you get the splash damage hit there, the 35, then that will also combo with it, and that can be a great way to chase someone if you're just a little bit out of range to be... If you're just a little bit out of range to be hitting the light hit. See, it works, I promise. I'm not making things up. Finally, one other option that you do have is actually the Zipcaster. Because traveling through someone does 60 and landing next to them does 35 in splash damage. So if you get the hitbox through them and the splash, which is very hard to do, to be fair. Harder than an Explo shot, because it's straight line. But if you do manage to get that, then that's a lot of damage by itself, and all you need to do is a light hit. But if you got, say, a charge slash, then any damage that you're going to do with the Zipcaster is likely to splat them. Now, the Zipcaster can do less. It can get below 30, and so that might not quite splat the whole way. So it's not the most reliable thing, but if you're having to move around in the Zipcaster, if someone's like pressuring you, challenging you, and you need to get away, if you can manage to make that escape pass through someone who's already damaged, that can sometimes get you some extra splats there as well. So this weapon has a lot of different options, especially at long range for poking at someone and getting those picks. I would probably lean towards the charge slash single slash combo when it's available to you. Just kind of get in the habit of, like, anytime you see a hit marker with the charge slash, go for a light slash unless you know you're out of range. And that's going to be a really good combo for you to use. With the Zipcaster, we'll talk about that a little bit more in game because it's a little bit harder to talk about. But the Zipcaster is basically for bullying backliners. You don't want to, like, Zipcast and try to just, like, dive on top of something like a 52 gal, because all they're going to do is back up, put a wall in front of you, and kite you. And then you're just at the range that a 52 gal wants you to be at. But if you can use this thing to get up and sneak up behind an Explo or something, they're kind of dead in the water. It's really hard also for, like, an E-leader to be able to track with you and deal with this at close range. Like, it puts a lot of pressure on them. So I've found this to be really useful for taking out those juicy targets in the back line, like especially your blobbers, your Explos, you know, your things that are trying to stay well out of range because they know they don't have that much burst damage, that ability to splat that quickly. And those are the things that you can really bully really well with this thing. One last thing I want to talk about really quickly is the way the reticle works, because this is something that screwed me up a lot at first, and something that I know will be difficult for newer players who are maybe used to other weapons. So look at my reticle right now. It's moving up and down. It's the moving reticle right here that is what I'm actually aiming at. So if I hit here, you'll notice I'm hitting straight at the ground. That 4-bar thing is there in part to show your charge, and also to show whether you're going from the horizontal to the vertical. But what it can do sometimes is it can make it look like you're aiming a lot higher than you are. So like right here you can see I'm aiming dead center on this target. If I start charging, that circle in the middle, that is not your aiming reticle. Your aiming reticle has gone away. Now the whole thing is really tall, so it's not like you're going to miss even if you aim a little too high. But what throws you off a lot is when it changes back to this form, and now it's aiming lower than you were expecting it to. So if you decide to aim this thing dead center, and then try to aim the single slash, you're going to hit the ground. So that's something that you'll have to kind of untrain yourself to see. When you are in this charge mode, you do not have your aiming reticle on the screen. Aim at like the bottom of the 4 bars, and that is where you're actually looking at. I don't know why they made it look that way. That doesn't seem like a great way to show that you're aiming this thing. But once you know that that's what it is you're looking for the bottom bar, you should be aiming in the right place. A couple of additional little nuggets here. First of all, if you have not found ProChar's channel already on YouTube, or if you haven't seen it in a while, you've been playing a lot of Stamper. Been bringing it into high-level matches, and so you're going to be able to see a lot of how that plays if you just go and watch that channel. One video I especially recommend is his video about weapon matchups, where he talks about how to play against different kinds of weapons, because you're out there trying to take a lot of fights, running a lot of quick respawn for a reason, and so knowing how to fight against different weapons going to be really useful to know. One matchup in particular that he tends to find is not really in this weapon's favor, and that's something that I would back up from experiencing the other side of the matchup, is short-range shooters. You really don't want to be too close to those, because they out-damage you, and they're also very maneuverable. So at long distance, they're just going to dodge your charge slashes a lot of the time, and at short ranges, they are going to out-damage you. So as long as they can stay away from your melee hitbox, your charged melee, your one-shot, they're probably going to be okay in that fight. So definitely be careful fighting those. But there are a lot of other matchups that definitely go in your favor. I think it'd be good to go and check that out to kind of have an idea of which fights you should be eager to take and which fights you should be maybe trying to avoid or have somebody else help you with. A couple more properties of this weapon. First of all, this is not a weapon like sloshers or blasters where you can hit up over the top of stuff. You do need line of sight on an opponent to be able to see them. So even if I am aiming up above this ledge here, the shot is not falling down and hitting the target. I have to back all the way up to where I do actually have that line between me and the opponent to be able to hit them. So don't be deceived by how it looks like it hits up over the top of stuff. The damaging hitbox is just not there. That's about all you're getting up here. One really common mistake is if you're going for a charge slash and you're trying to move around while you're doing this, if you accidentally hold forward, you might accidentally dash. And that's probably not what you're looking for a lot of the time. A lot of the time, if you're using one of these and there are opponents nearby, you're probably in a specific position. You don't want to accidentally be dropping off of ledges because you accidentally dashed forward while you were doing this attack. So be really cognizant of that, what direction you're putting it in when you are firing charge slashes. Another thing to be aware of is that when you are out of ink, your hitbox does not come out, not even the melee hitbox. So there is no way to do damage from here. What you can do is, you can see how, as I run out of ink, I hold it off to the side, but then there's a cool animation where it starts to move it over to the side once your ink recovers, and you can actually fire one of those things again. So that might be your best option if you're stuck up out of the ink, to just press and hold the ZR button until you have more. But otherwise, make sure to be getting yourself, obviously, back into the ink to be able to recover it. A couple more notes about Zipcaster. When you are approaching usually a backline weapon, a lot of the time they're going to be up on a ledge like this. And so a lot of the time it's safest to try and grab right under here. And then maybe jump up and do something like that. But it's very common when you're just climbing a ledge normally to want to sit right here on the ledge, below, significantly below it. Right here, an E-liter can hit you, but maybe down hereabouts to kind of use the third-person camera, look up over the ledge, see what's there before you hop over and do something. Same kind of deal with a Zipcaster. You can pull off that sort of information collection. Just be aware that, you know, it's something that someone's likely to see if you're directly under them, so you might have to maybe hop up and zip to another wall, try and chase him down a little bit, because the first thing that's going to happen when there's a Zipcaster out is everyone's going to try and back away from it and kite it. And so you need to watch out for that kind of counterplay. Sometimes you can let yourself get into some more risky situations because you're going to be able to jump back. And if you do get into trouble, definitely just like use up ink like crazy so that you run out of the Zipcaster faster, because it does actually scale down with the amount of ink that you use while you're zipcasting. So that's a kind of an escape method that you have if you get in a little bit too deep with that. Another aspect of this weapon, mechanic that applies to, I believe, both Splatanas, is that you can actually aim somewhat independently of the dash. You don't necessarily have to aim exactly where the dash goes. It's a very tight window, and it would take a lot of practice for me to get the hang of. But I'll show you here. I'm going to keep aiming this way and moving this way. But you can see I dashed the one way and attacked in another. So if you can get the hang of that and get that aimed in the right direction very quickly, there we go. You could dash one way and attack in another and kind of strafe someone that way. That's not easy at all. I hit a target way over there. That's going to take quite a bit of getting used to. But if you can kind of learn to control this sort of like dualies with their dodge rolls, that might have applications. Okay, got a pretty aggressive short-range comp. We're going to try and support them as best as we can in fights. They also do as well. We're going to need to paint really carefully around the roller. I'm going to also want to watch out for their bubbles. Conditionally, we can get in there and use the melee attacks. You can also use the dash to clear the distance towards them, but that's not the safest thing always, especially with against a roller in particular. You can get away with that more with a junior. Okay, we did trade them. Nice, that's one down, that's two down, that's a lot down. We need to get some more clams here. Get ourselves safe first. Get the basket second. Should be able to get up. Yeah, let's go. Well, they're killing some time anyway. I'm gonna be first up. I thought that was a suction bomb for a second. It's green, it's sticking off the wall. They knew I was around here somewhere, but they don't know exactly where. Go. Hello. Okay. Looking good. Should be able to get a power clam made here, and we just need to protect this teammate. Nice. Not out of the woods yet. They're all respawning. Oh, we need to back up. We do not want this fight. Couldn't quite keep the line up there, but we got one eventually. And we're doing all right on this fight here, so we should be able to get back into it. Ooh, hello. Okay, glad that helped. Hi. Go away. Thank you. Let's tag them with this and see if we can hit that as well. Oh, we didn't hit the burst bomb. A little bit too quick on that. Otherwise, we had it. Notice that as I'm rolling out here, I'm using the dash to paint forward. If you've got something that lets you move and shoot at the same time, might as well use that movement since you're using the shooting for the movement as well. They're about to DC, aren't they? Well, that's unfortunate. Didn't need to do that because we already had the clams thrown in the ground in front of you. That works. There we go. See if we can get over here. Nice. We get one, and right as it's starting to get hairy, we're able to get out of there. I can't save that, unfortunately. I can, however, deal a little bit of damage. I thought that was enough. Okay. Trying to cut off movement options here. Because we're not going to be able to hit them very reliably if they're moving around. We are going to be able to make it so that our teammates can deal with them better. There's a lot going on over there. Let's see if we can get in the way of it. This, you have to go a predictable way that our teammates are watching. Let's see if we can sneak over there. There we go, that should do it. Alright, not a bad one. A couple of questionable zipcasters in there, I would say, but we definitely did about what we needed to do there to help the team out. Got a couple of nice splats. The long-range poke helps a lot there when they have such a short-range team comp. The kind of flanking zipcasters are a little bit more helpful for diving backline weapons. But I think that was a pretty good showcase. Oh, goodness. That was a higher KA than I was expecting. Well, there you go. Alright, and that brings us around to the Splatana Wiper. I'm probably just going to run kind of the same thing here. There's a really wide array of things that people are running on this weapon right now, still trying to figure it out. I'm seeing a lot of comeback in particular, so that might be something to consider here. 20 meg, probably don't need the extra swim speed, really. Let's just run that for now. So Splatana Wiper has a lot of the same mechanics in, you know, the way the dash works, and, you know, you can still do the dash and aim while dashing kind of thing. You've still got the same really, really weak one-shot range that you have to dash for a lot of the time. And you're still going to use a lot of charge slashes as your main source of damage, because those have a disproportionately long range, and they let you hit from pretty far away. This weapon also has torpedoes, which can be really helpful for tacking on extra damage. Really, my experience with the whole weapon tells me that it's a lot about being a source of additional chip damage and just kind of skating around, adding little bits and pieces of damage to the opponents as you go. Because you're not going to get a lot of kills straight up from just, like, dealing damage all in one go. You may get, like, some one-shots here or there, and you maybe get some, like, torpedo roll combos into charge slash, so this kind of thing. That's a great damage option. But a lot of the time, your damage is just too slow to really reliably stay in one place and splat someone with it. A lot of the time what you're going to be doing here is relying on chip from your teammates and running around and making it more difficult for your opponents to exist in certain situations. The kit works really well for that with the exception of the Stamper. The Stamper is really just not a great special in general right now for competitive play. But it also doesn't synergize super well, I think, with this weapon's playstyle. You're going to maybe throw it at someone and try to get some picks at a distance with it, but this weapon is a lot about the damage combos, and the Stamp is very all or nothing. You're either splatting them with the Stamp or you're not, and it takes away a lot of the mobility that you enjoy. If you're going to try and use the Donkey Kong mode, where you're just holding down ZR, then you're not going to be able to move very quickly, you're not going to be able to escape very well. So your best option with it is to be swimming around, jumping out, and one-shotting people like this. And that's utility that you already kind of have because you've got the charge slash that you can melee someone from. So the best thing you can really do with the Stamp, really, is probably just chuck it as soon as you get it and just farm another one. Because, like I said, if you're sharking close enough to someone, that's pretty quick. If you're going to get close enough to hit them with a Stamp, you're probably close enough to just melee them like that. So, not a great special for it, which is a pity because this is one of the best subs that this weapon can possibly have. And I worry if it doesn't get something like maybe Burst Bomb on the next kit at what it's really going to be able to do. Just because it's missing so many options for damage. Just to run through the combos really quickly, and I have labbed these out to figure out which ones are fastest, and I did that in a video at one point. The fastest option is these rapid attacks. It's still not very fast, but it is faster. One really fast option is roll torpedo into charge slash. So that doesn't take a super long time to come out. 2 charge slashes is slower, but it's generally pretty safe and doesn't use a ton of ink, so this is a really good kind of poking option. Torpedoes, depending on how they explode, may put you at different amounts of damage. So I think in here you're probably not going to land a lot of the... let's see if we can get it on the moving targets. Because those pellets that fall, there, see, that might put you in range of just being able to, like, one-shot them with the weak attack. Because the way that those explode isn't really shown super well by the target dummies here. But each of those little pellets does a certain amount of damage. And so, depending on how much damage they take from that, how much they're already taking from opponents, you might be able to combo with those pellets to get some easier splats with... some attacks that wouldn't normally do that in a training room. And then, of course, the one-shot you've got here. If you're doing it from standing, it's about as fast as a roller flick, albeit much, much shorter range. If you're doing it from further away, it's a bit slower than a roller flick, but it does let you close the distance a little bit. Just a roller flick from here does actually one-shot, so you can definitely still say that it is slower in general at the melee range than the roller is. But the roller also doesn't have as many options for poking the opponents. They are a much more high commitment playstyle. They can't kind of buzz around like a gnat until they get that opening. So generally I do consider the weapon fairly weak because while it can do a lot of different things, it doesn't do any of them extremely well. And because of that, it's very dependent on its team. It doesn't have a lot of stopping power on defense. If the opponents are pushing the objective and it's in the way, it really needs somebody else there to be doing extra damage a lot of the time for it to really be able to keep anybody away from it. it's trying to like play around its teammates as they enforce a zone, and it's trying to just like make it more difficult to live in that zone by being a gnat and doing all these little chips of damage here and there. But chip damage only really matters if there's follow-up on it, and it doesn't follow up on its own damage very quickly, so it's not doing a lot in the damage department, in the department of stopping people. It paints decently well, but it gets a special with that paint that it really doesn't synergize with especially well. So I'm really worried that if the weapon doesn't get a burst bomb on the next kit, because you wouldn't think that they would give it the same sub twice. If it doesn't get a burst bomb in its next kit, I'm really worried for it, because it doesn't seem like it's going to get a lot of extra damage potential from anything else. It's not going to be able to combo the way that it can with Torpedo, which is an important source of damage, I think, for this weapon, considering that the main weapon isn't contributing very much. I'm hoping either the main weapon gets buffed or it does end up getting a burst bomb plus a special that it would much rather have, because otherwise I don't see much competitive viability for it. That said, very high skill ceiling. It is entirely possible that people figure things out about this weapon that I have not anticipated, or that they just get better at the things it already does and that ends up mattering. But right now, we're not seeing a lot of use of this. Even a lot of the top players who were experimenting with it early on, I'm not seeing them use it in tournament much anymore. So, pretty rare find, but we'll see what we can do with it in the match that we're playing now. Let's see what we got. Alright, fairly balanced comp. No backliners to worry about. That's kind of nice. I don't know about our odds of getting popped, but we'll throw something out there and see if it sticks. Yeah, we're not even really contesting it that hard. There's someone from the left that I'm worried about. There's a bunch of people on the left that I'm worried about. We do one-shot that player before they can get to us. They needed to close distance on us, so we used the dash to close more than they wanted us to. Difficult for them, and we'll be able to pick them off the back side of it. Really wish the teammate hadn't swam up behind me with the missiles. If an opponent had pushed me during that time, I would be in trouble. But okay, we're good here. Throwing that out mostly for information. Hello. That's a situation where the melee range light attacks are really useful. If I stay there for too long, they're able to just splat me with their DPS. So being able to move and deal damage at melee range can sometimes mean you don't want to go for the charge attack. The melee range light attacks do decrease the time to kill that you need from the light attacks. They go from 4 shots to 3. It's kind of like charge or tap shots. It's kind of like a desperation play a lot of the time, but in a situation like that, it can be useful. Some good damage combo layering there. This does pop the Rainmaker Shield faster on melee hits, just like it does with players. Does more damage that way. So this is a pretty good position for us to be in. One more player here, which we can probably get. No, not quite. Didn't have any support from mid there because they were getting engaged on. Alright, that's 2 down. We can work with this. Hi. Oh, the armor saved them. I did hit the 1-shot. Alright, that's a pretty good push, and we can probably just keep the pressure on at this point. So we're getting flanked here, right? Coming over the top. I'm going to try and keep the paint up around here and make it so they can't take that angle. They are going to try and run it back. Dropped it off. Where's that going to go? Is it going to reset? Okay. Let's try and keep the pressure up over here. And maybe roll one of those around. No, they're going to go over the top. They're going to zip cast her in. Oh, well, I ran past them. So that's unfortunate. Where are you going to go? You're going over there. I'm worried about that roller. Go. Rain helped a lot there. Nice. All right. Unfortunately, they ended up... Oh, did they bump themselves off the level with the Rainmaker shield? That's funny. Charge hold on this thing would actually be kind of neat. Oh, that was unfortunate timing. There's only one teammate up there. I'm actually really worried. This would be a bad time for us to lose lead. A couple shots, thank you. Don't let them get any further forward than that, and we should be fine. This is really dangerous. They've got jumps in. We need to not feed right now. Okay, I think we've got this. Whew, okay, close one. All right. Not looking too bad by the numbers. So, that is it for the Splatanas. Hopefully you learned a little something at least. Like I said, very new weapons, so not something that I'm super familiar with just yet, but hopefully I was able to put on enough of a showing that you were able to get something of value out of it. So good luck on learning these things and mastering the blade. We will see you on the next time around.